Okay, so today we're going to work on installing window and door locations in the foam. So these doors I've purchased off of Amazon, and they're what they call a surface mount, which means that the screws have come in from the front, and I have wood inside the foam that the screws have drilled into. They do make what they call a flange fit door. They're a little more expensive and harder to find, but that would work similar to the way the windows work, which in this case is this window, which I've purchased off of eBay, and this is what they would call a flange fit. And so it has basically a flange on the outside with the window, and then it has a flange on the inside ring, and when you screw the inside ring to the outside window, it creates a clamping effect on the wall. Very easy to install in the foamy, where the door is a little bit more involved, but we'll show both ways to install in the build. Alright, so one reason why I place my door where it's at is because of ease of getting in and out of the trailer. So when you get up in the morning or go to bed at night, it's just a nice simple sit in, turn around basically on your butt, and lay down. Here we go. See how easy that is to get in and out? Very little adjustment once you get in there. If you move the door forward more, you're going to have a lot more discomfort getting in and out of the door. And obviously we can't move the door back too much farther, because then we're getting into the wheel well area. Now, in this trailer, the wheel, or the axle, is centered on the frame, and it's a small wheel. So if I go with a larger wheel, I may have to move the axle back a little bit to gain a little bit of clearance, but in most cases that'll be fine, because you can put more weight in the back and kind of balance out the trailer again. So that's the reason why I place the door as far back as I do. Now then, the height from the floor, I have it set at 5 inches, and the reason why I do that is because all my bedding's in there, and it will contain it. Plus I do plan on using this off-road some. If I ever get into water crossings or anything, I have a little bit of freeboard before water actually starts coming in. But I believe the door seal is actually pretty decent for that as well. In some cases you might find that too high, because it will hit the back of your legs when you get in and out, especially on a higher trailer, which it does tend to be a little sharp with the flange there where the seal is. So you can move the door up and down to adjust for your preferences. I just wouldn't move maybe more than 2 inches from the floor. Any lower than that, because then the foam will start getting weak when you're building it, and it could break or crack. And you need that foam to kind of keep your foam pieces aligned properly during the build. So that's the reason why I built it the way I did. With this door, screws come in from the outside and screw into the wall. And then it has a flange on the inside that's made to slip over the flange of the door so that it can accept different widths of walls and hide the wall. In this case, it would be, since the flange fits around the door, it's going to be wider than the door. So I've chosen to use the flange as my template. So we have the flange here, and all we got to do is just mark out where we want it. Okay, making our first marks for the door opening. Making my mark out at 4 feet. Okay, we marked the one side of the door opening. Now I'm going to mark the bottom side of the door opening at 5 inches. Making my mark at 5 inches. Alright. Now we just make our lines. Again, this line's at 4 feet. Bottom is 5 inches. I would like to point out that before you start your markings, to verify that you have the foam placed the way that it needs to be placed. Because if we actually place this on that other portion of the foam, then the door would be in the wrong place. So try not to make any errors that's going to cost you in having to go to the store and buying another foam sheet. So verify in your mind the location of the doors and windows and how they correlate to how they're going to fit on the trailer. Okay, so now I got my 2 edges marked out. So you can use the flange and it will get you very close to the dimensions that you need. Alright, I'm just going to mark out the cut lines. Alright, so I verified all my measurements were correct or close. So in this case I'm going to need to cut right along the outside edge of the lines, and that should make up the difference for the width of the flange. So another reason why we do the marking on the outboard side rather than the inboard side is that when you cut the door out with your jigsaw blade, you're cutting through about 2 inches of foam. Sometimes the blade can wander and either make the opening narrower or wider on the opposite side. So by cutting on this side, we'll have a nice clean cutout for the outside wall, and in an unfortunate event that the inside cut wanders, we can maybe fix that, but it won't, look bad from the outside. So for making the cutout with the jigsaw, we need a blade like this. This is a wood cutting blade. You're going to want a fairly large spacing of teeth, and ideally we want something that's fairly wide, because when the blades cut the foam, it tends to clog it up pretty quick. So with the wider teeth spacing, kind of cuts down on that, and then with them being wider, it keeps it from the blade from wandering, because as you're cutting, you want to be fairly straight, but as you're cutting, possible the blade can bend one way or the other on the opposite side. So by having these teeth come out the edge, kind of tends to keep it from doing that. As long as you take your time, go real slow. If you use a fine tooth, you're going to have a lot of problems with the teeth clogging up and the blade starting to wander. So look for something like this. This is 5 inches long. You probably could get away with 4-inch, maybe even a 3-inch. I don't know, but if you look around long enough, you can find these. I actually got these at Harbor Freight. So I'm using a Harbor Freight style jigsaw, blades installed, and this one has an oscillation for the blade, moves it back and forth. If your jigsaw happens to have that feature, I find that works a little bit better if you crank it all the way up so it does have that oscillation as much as you can get. Kind of helps with cleaning the foam out. If yours doesn't, you'll just have to work real slow and kind of back out from time to time. I still, even with this, have to back away from the cut from time to time. Alright, so to get the start for the jigsaw, I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole in the along the edge there someplace where I can get the blade through, and then we'll make sure that our supports underneath the foam are placed properly, and then we'll start cutting. Okay, so we're ready to use the jigsaw to cut out the door opening. I'm going to use this piece of wood here just so that I can put my weight on the wall and not stress the foam. So here we go. Before I start these last two corners here, I just want to kind of give you a tip. When you're making the turn, just kind of let the jigsaw just kind of do the work, because if you put any type of stress to the left or the right of the cut, it will cause the blade to drift one way or another. So kind of a real light touch. Just kind of guide it a little bit as you're going, and try not to put any side to side stresses on the blade. Okay, so made the cut. I'm going to vacuum this up a little bit, and then we'll pull that out and see how close we came. Okay, so I cut out the door cutout with the jigsaw, vacuumed up all the little foam beads, and now I'm going to test fit the ring and see how well I did. It's a bit snug. Probably would work, but I'll probably go ahead and sand the edges a bit, see if I can get it to fit a little nicer. And so now I'm going to check the inside and see how it looks. Going by the initial cut that I noticed, it looks like it tapers, so I got a feeling it's going to fit better on the inboard side. Okay, so yeah, the inboard side fits well, and I don't have any gaps between the foam and the frame edge, so that's awesome. All the rest of the imperfections will be hidden once the door is installed. So I'm going to work on cleaning up the outside edge so that we get a little better fit. Alright, we'll try the ring again, see how it looks. Yes, fits in much better, and we got a little bit of wiggle room. Alright, flip it over, try the other side. You got to be very cautious once you got this door cut out, because you can snap the foam pretty quickly or easily. So no quick movements. Alright, so I'm looking at this, Seems like it fits from side to side fine, but the top and bottom are a little snug. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this top edge and bottom edge some, see if we can't get it to fit a little nicer. Now in theory, the outside door portion is actually a little bit smaller, so as long as we can get that to fit in there, we should be good to go. But again, we want a little bit of wiggle room so that everything meshes up real nice when we go to put it back together. Alright, we'll try the ring again. Alright, it's a little snug, but I think it's going to work. Like I said, this inside ring should be a hair bigger than the outside door. I'm just going to verify that my leading edge here is a proper distance from the front wall. So I'm at 20 7/8 and 20 7/8. So the door is true, square. So if it isn't, I mean, if you're a 1/4 inch or off, probably not that big a deal. Probably never notice it. 1/2 inch, probably pushing it. It's just what level of it that you want to build the trailer to. If it is off, you'll just have to work on opening up the door cutout. Okay, so we got the door cutout done. So now we just need to do the curb side. In this case, we're going to do a window. But if you opt to do 2 doors, a curbside and a roadside door, then really you just need to duplicate this process for the other side. And so I'm going to bring in another sheet for the window.